During a high school class project, my teacher told me it's unrealistic being a CEO. It's been my dream to be a CEO since I was 10. So I told her, it is realistic. Follow me on my journey to learn what it takes to become a CEO.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Realistic CEO Podcast. Today I'm here with Kevin. How are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on and agreeing to be on my podcast today. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming here.
Thank you. The first question I want to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do here at MassHire?
We basically do two things. We work with people who are looking to advance their career, and that could be helping them find a job or helping them find training. The other thing is we work with businesses to help them find staff.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to how you got to where you are today?
In some ways, it's an accident, and in some ways, it's not. I would say I've graduated from Palmer High School. Didn't know if I wanted to go to college or anything, and my parents wanted me to go to college. So I ended up going to Holyoke Community College. I was in high school. I was an okay student, not great. But then I got to Holyoke Community College, and all of a sudden, I was on the honor roll. And I think it was the first time in my life I was actually really challenged in school. There was some doubt about whether I was going to pass or not. And that sort of changed my outlook on things. And then from there, I got an associate's degree at Holyoke Community College, and I went to what was then Western New England College, now Western New England University. Got a bachelor's degree in economics. Again, if you would have told me that I was going to get a bachelor's in economics, I would have said you were crazy, but I did it. And then after I was working for a number of years, I went to AIC for my master's degree to get in nonprofit management. And the reason I did that was that I knew that if I wanted to get this job, I had to have a master's degree. So I went back to school after being out for a long time in 2002 when I got my master's degree in 2006. So there was some planning. I decided fairly shortly after I joined that this was this organization, that this was the job I wanted to do. So if I wanted to get it, I had to get a master's.
So you talked about when you first went to college, you got a degree in economics. Why did you pick economics?
I get some bad advice. Mm-hmm. So I always wanted to, in high school, I always wanted to work in the media. So I had talked to a news director of Channel 22. And at the time, and when I was in college, I did an internship at Channel 22 in the newsroom. And at the time, they were hiring all kinds of reporters to do specialty reporting. So one of them was business. So he told me at the time, he said, if you want to be a business reporter, economics would be a great thing to do. And great. So I graduate with an economics degree. And in that short period of time, 3 years, the whole universe had changed. And they didn't want to hire, no one wanted to hire a specialty reporter. They wanted a general assignment reporter. And for that, they were looking primarily towards like your broadcasting colleges, which I was not, Western New England at the time was not doing that thing. So it was a little discouraging.
So you went for economics, then the media or the company that you worked for shifted in a different direction. What was your thought process when you're like, wow, I got this degree to get this job, and now they're saying that this degree doesn't even matter anymore?
Yeah, I think the degrees still matter, but not the way I wanted to. And I was like, I had applied to a few radio stations and TV stations, and frankly, I was unimpressed with what they were paying for salary. It was like, And I was like, look, I wanted to make money. So I worked my way through college, first at Big Y, and then I worked at Sears. And at the time, there was a store, the Sears at the Eastfield Mall. And at the time, there was a store across the street called Lechmere. And they were looking to do a major expansion, and they had sent secret shoppers into Lechmere. And there were a few of us that they had identified as being maybe potentially useful for their management training program. So a friend of mine that I worked with was hired. And he called me up shortly afterwards and said, hey, look, you've been secret shopped. You want to come over and you're going to be doing this and that. I went over and I got hired. And at the time, this is 1983, I was making like $14,700 a year. And I thought I was the king of the world. I was rich beyond my wildest dreams.
So take from that experience, how have you been able to take that, what you learned working there, to now being able to take what you know and apply it to the job now?
I think your life is really about two things. It's about relationships and it's about experiences. And you learn a lot from both. And you meet people along your way that change your life. Like leadership is a big thing if you want to be a CEO. And we have a vision of leaders in this country that you see in the movies or you read about. And I'll tell you, every great leader that I've met is nothing like that. Nothing like that. But they take you in ways and things, but you really have to pay attention. That's the thing. A lot of people go through life, they don't really pay attention. And people that you come and you see some really good people, and you also have some really bad people, bad leaders, really bad leaders. And I think that I think I learned more from the bad ones, because I was like, I never want to be like that. I just don't want to be that person. But you have some really impressive people, and you take those experiences and you put them in your back of your brain, and you'd be amazed at things. Even when I worked part-time in college and high school, there's things that happened to me, that's things that happen today that I'll go back to, and I'll think about that and how I felt at that time getting talked to. And you say, I don't want to do it that way, or I want to do it that way because I want to make sure that the message that I think I'm sending is the one that's being received.
So you said that you learn a lot from the leaders that you quote unquote don't want to be like. So what were their characteristics that you seen? Yeah, I don't want to be like that. And what are some characteristics that a good leader should have?
I'd say people don't see it from other people's point of view. Some people are like too emotional. Now, things in life, right? Good things happen and bad things happen. And it's the same thing in business. Good things happen and bad things happen. So I know no matter how great things are going, something bad's going to happen. No matter how bad things are going, something good's going to happen. It's a pendulum. But you can't get overly emotional about it to the point where you abuse people. And I had a couple experiences, one in particular, where I worked for someone who was abusive, and his first reaction was to fire people. And it was just amazing how he would fire people at the drop of a hat. And I worked for this guy for 3 years. This is in the radio, not probably 2 years. And he fired me. Eventually he fired me. And I'd never been fired in my life. And I was like, I'm never going to find another job. And I was ashamed of what had happened. And then I started interviewing, and I had 2 interviews with 2 local radio stations. And they said to me, wow, how did you last so long? And I go, I was fired. He goes, no, you lasted there 2 years. And it was like, to them, it was like the exact opposite. It was like an achievement. Even though I got fired, I had lasted 2 years because this person has such a bad reputation out in the community, and especially in the radio business where everyone knows everybody. He had such a bad reputation that it was like a gold star on my record. It was just, you never know how people are going to perceive things. And it was just a great learning lesson that sometimes you hang through times that are really tough. And and frankly, at the time I said, why am I doing this? But I kept going to work every day, and it ended up being a bonus to me.
So with that, the experience of you knowing that you had a bad boss, and you know that being an emotional boss isn't really the best way, but when is it the right time to be emotional as a boss?
Well, you can't be overly emotional, but there are times it's really about honesty. I won't say it's being emotional, but it's being honest with people. If you're a BSer, people know you're a BSer. You got to be honest with people. And I think if I could jet back to my 20-year-old self, when I first started in management, I always felt that I always had to have the answer. I don't care what the question was. I was supposed to have the answer. And now I'm way down the road, And I thought it's like 20 year self, I felt like I had to know it all. And I think, frankly, I thought I knew it all. And now 40 years beyond my 20s. And as I went through my career, I realized the farther along I went, the less I knew. And I think that is the best thing, is to realize that you don't know everything. Because people know you don't know everything. Your staff knows you don't know everything. And if you're honest and say, look, they come to you about something and you say, look, I don't know that, but I can find out. People respect that. And also, I've learned to, because I don't know everything, I've learned to lean on other people who know, who are experts in their field. And it just makes you so much, first of all, it makes you so much a better manager. And second of all, by admitting that you don't know everything, people seem to respect you a lot more. Because I've had reviews by my board of directors and they say, oh, you've used consultants to do this, that, and other thing. When I moved this career center here in 2019, I used consultants to help me with that. And I don't have to spend money, okay? But I spent money on them and it ended up saving me money. And it ended up with a much better looking facility and a better deal for the organization. And so that makes you look better, because you incorporate other people's expertise and you take people's opinions and views on things and recommendations. Not that you're taking everything, but you take it, you measure it, and you come up with a result that hopefully is good.
You said as you went on in your career, you realized that you didn't know as much, or you didn't know everything. Like, was there like a certain time, like or like a event or like an experience to having you realize that it's okay to ask for help and make sure that you don't act like you know everything?
I think it's more of a gradual thing. No, I guess I have a deep dislike for people who don't admit to the facts. So I've always tried to admit to the facts. And I think as you get more confidence in yourself, as you move through your career, I think you're more comfortable getting to the point where you say, look, the facts are, I don't know everything. The facts are, I don't know. But also, too, I just felt that kind of honesty always seemed to work out for me. Both in, really, it's little things, generally. It's not like big things, but it's just little things that kind of build your credibility. First of all, it builds your confidence internally, but it also builds your credibility with your staff and those other people that you're dealing with.
As a leader, what are some advice that you'd give to your younger self just starting off in a leadership position?
I would say probably speak up a little bit more when asked questions. I would say I was probably odd for people who know me now to say this, but I was probably a little bit too shy in the beginning, where I would sit there and just nod, and you could tell me, Kevin, you got to walk through that wall of fire, and I would walk through that wall of fire. But now I would say, isn't there a better way to do that? I'd have a dialogue with you. Where before I never really represented myself to my bosses, like probably I should have, or advocated for myself, or advocated for different positions. And oftentimes it's not in big ways, but it's little ways that I think shape their opinion of you. Because Kevin has some good ideas. And that's really what we have. We only have our reputation. That's all we ultimately have. And to my younger self, I would say, you really need to pay more attention to developing your reputation, because that helps you move up the chain faster, both internally as well as, it's amazing that I really didn't know when I was young, the number of eyes that are on you oftentimes from outside your organization that you never really know are there looking at you. And there's been times in my life where that has come into play, and it's, wow, I didn't know you were watching.
So you talked about one thing that you would have changed is you were a little shy. What are some ways that somebody can break out of their shell and not become that shy?
I think we have to, and I suffered from this too when I was younger. Just for instance, the shaking of hands things. When I was younger, and I noticed this with younger people today, it seems universal. People don't want to shake hands. You give them and I know it sounds like a silly thing, but you go in, it gives you some confidence. You shake someone's hand, looking people in the eye. I was lousy at that. You had to work on that. And just talking to people. That is so big, is that you go out. I know since COVID, we've all been doing a lot of stuff online and virtually, but I think getting out and meeting people and talking to them, seeing people and being seen I think that's gold, because you meet people and all of a sudden you develop a relationship with some folks, and you never know where that goes, and you never know what's going to happen, where all of a sudden I find myself, maybe I'm not happy in my job, and you're talking to somebody and they say, I'm looking for someone who could do this and this. And you say, no, I know this guy, Kevin Lynn. Here's his contact. Maybe he might be. Maybe, could you put a word in for me? And next thing you make a connection, and it comes out of left field. And a lot of stuff in life comes out of left field. I know I'm in the career planning business, and yes, it's important to plan your career, but you also have to put yourself in a position to take advantages of any opportunities that maybe you never considered, but you may be right for. And you never knew you were right for it, but wow, I could do this. And then all of a sudden you're going on this track, but because you put yourself in the right position, all of a sudden you have the opportunity to go this track, and maybe that's your ultimate path to becoming a CEO.
So I want to talk a little bit about networking. What are some ways that somebody can improve their networking skills?
First of all is talk to people. I notice I have 2 daughters who are 29 and 34. And one thing that drives them crazy is that I go places and I talk to people I don't know. So we go places and I talk to all kinds of people, and they think it's really weird. I think it's great, because I'll just strike up a conversation with people, and I learn a lot about people and a lot about things. And in your local area, you go to a meeting, you see some people, and it's relationships. And next thing, what do you do? What do you do? And how do you do it? And then, and the next thing you know, you go to a separate meeting, and there's that person, and you re-engage. And again, it's you slowly build your network up, and then you connect with them on LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. And that slowly builds your network. And there's some people who are relationship based in this world, and some people are transactional based. Don't waste your time with the transactional based. They only want to sell you something. But there's a lot of people out there are relationship based, where, hey, I just know you. I like you. We come together or meet. We might meet socially. You might just meet professionally, and that's all okay. Whatever the way that happens is great. But the fact is, you start getting out there, and it kind of goes back to you never know the eyes on you. That goes to go back to that comment, is that people see you and they'll like you, they'll judge you, and everybody makes a judgment about people, but they see you out. Gee, Kevin is talking to everybody and their brother here. You must have something going on. You might not have anything going on, but you look like you got something going on. And that helps encourage people's opinion of you. And you never know, when you apply for a job, you could apply for a job and you don't know that this connection works there. And all of a sudden they come in, it might have you and a couple other candidates, and they might slide the right comment in that pushes you up so that you get the job offer. So life is funny.
A little bit about leadership. Did you always know that you were a leader, or was it something that you developed over time?
I would say it wasn't so much about leadership for me. It was about creativity. So I'm in this job because I like to create things. And so to have say on the creativity, you have to be the leader. So that's my vision on it. It's amazing. A lot of people don't think there's they don't associate business with creativity. And this creativity from the moment you walk in, so your pillow hits the nut, your head hits the pillow at the end of the night. There's always things that are coming up. So not unusual in my role. There's 25 career centers across Massachusetts. I'm the only one who does the website. I administer the website. I view the website as my front door. It's one of the most crucially important things that we do here, is keeping that website relevant. So I like part of my creativity. I like doing the marketing for the organization, but I also very much like empowering my management team. If you look at my LinkedIn, it says we're all in business for ourselves. And that's, I 100% believe that, is that I'm in business for me ultimately. And my management team, they're in business for themselves. And I tell them, you need to think about, you're like running your own business here in your unit. And that to me is part of the creativity and what attracts me to being a leader.
So what was it about MassHire that you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do?
Me being here is a total accident. So I was working in radio in Hartford, and for a company that was taken over by at the time, the nation's, it was a private company bought by a stock run company that immediately said, we will not spend any money on anything. And I was extremely unhappy because I had equipment that was constantly breaking down that I needed to fix. And over a period of months, I was extremely frustrated. And it was a Sunday morning. I was having my coffee, eating my bagel. And back then, this is 2000. You looked at the Sunday newspaper for jobs. And I was sitting there and I looked at a job and I literally went like this. My wife was sitting there and I said, I could do this job. And she's, why don't you apply? So I did. And it was for, it's called a business service representative. So I sent off my resume, and a few days later, I get a call that says, I know you applied. I know you apply here, but we have another job you might be interested in. And that was the manager of business services in IT. So I came in as that, and I worked from 2000 to 2014 when I became executive director.
So within the year that you becoming the head of the IT leadership to executive director, what were some skills that you picked up during that time?
It was certainly networking with other agencies. We had to be a leader. Like, you have leaders, but you need to have an organization that's seen as a leader in what you do. And I think that was a big part of my motivation, was that I always wanted us to be the best. So you want to be seen as the best. And then what that means is, to me, doing the work behind the scenes, laying the basic building blocks, the stuff that's not really glamorous. In this world, there's people who are talkers, there's people who are doers. If I go back to my younger self, always hang with the doers, because talkers never get anywhere. A lot of times you'll see the talkers getting sometimes the awards or the attention, but there's people down in the trenches that are getting it done. Those are the people you want to be with, because those people always know what's going on. And those are the people that are ultimately going to be successful, because they can always explain why they were successful. They know exactly what was going on. And that is always key to your life. Because frankly, I go to meetings today, I know people who are talkers, and I'll sit there and I go, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But they always say the right words, but there's never any meat behind what they say. And people will pick up on that. Maybe not initially, but eventually they'll pick up on it.
What are some ways that you're able to pick up on when you can just tell somebody's just talking rather than they're actually having action behind their words?
They'll use common phrases like out of the box. They'll use words that you'll hear, it's out of the box. Let's think out of the box. Or they'll talk in generalities frequently. But there'll be other people who will talk in processes. They'll talk in numbers. They'll talk very detailed towards issues. And when you have someone in a room that speaks like that, the whole room turns to that individual, because you get their attention. You have your facts and figures. You know exactly the process. You're not in generalities. That's how you really stand out above the crowd.
So if somebody that is a talker, what are some ways that you can become a doer?
First of all, you have to want it. That's one thing. And it's, don't be afraid to fail. We have this, our society is, I don't know, it's like failure is poison. Failure is great, because you cannot be afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, you're never going to succeed. I fail a lot. It's amazing. Frankly, it's amazing to me the amount of times you can fail and have one success, and people remember you for your success. And the people don't remember your failures. It's the successes they remember. So don't be afraid to try things, because you know what? You try it, it fails, you tinker around with it, you try it again. Well, maybe it fails, but not as bad. And you tinker around some more, and then before you know it, you get a process or a result that you really want. And that's really what it's about. It's have confidence in yourself. The basic thing is you're going to be willing to learn. Pay attention to what you're doing, analyze it, tweak it, try it again. And that's really the key to success.
What has been your favorite experience so far as the executive director at MassHire?
It's really seeing people get with jobs. It's tough to convey the emotion. We see people here at the worst time in their lives, the worst time. And we've had customers I've spoken with who they don't have money to buy food, can't heat their house. They're losing their house. They're losing their car. They're losing their spouse. Their whole world is crashing down, and they need to find work. And with all that kind of go around their head, you're going to try to focus them on taking it incrementally, take those little steps to get towards work. And then when someone going through all that mess, or even parts of some of that mess, and they come back and they have a look and an emotion, really the emotion in their voice, that they found work, it's like nothing else. I'm telling you right now, it's like nothing else.
In my book, Realistic CEO, Tony talks about the LBW, the long, lonely, born work. So can you tell us a little bit about the LBW that you had to do in your journey?
I guess I'm a person who hates government regulations. So we're a private nonprofit, but we're basically federally and state funded. So I have a lot of government regulations. I hate them. So I find dealing with them boring and long. So that would definitely fit there. So I think in every job you have things that are part of the job that you got to do. You don't particularly like it. You have so much more that you like to do. And you just can't, I think you can't ignore the big picture. I think sometimes we, as people, we get focused on the negatives of work, the long, boring, I hate doing this. And it's probably, if you hate it, it's probably really stinks. I get it. But there's so much more than what we do, like getting to hear people say they find work, or hearing a business say, look, you helped me find someone who I haven't been able to find. Or they call you up and say, I hired Debbie. I was a little unsure of her. She's turned out to be a star. Now, those kinds of things, I guess back to relationships really, but those are the things that really make you get up in the morning and go to work, is those kind of life-changing results. Because we say here is that if you put an individual to work, you're really putting a family to work, because you're lifting up more than just one person. You're oftentimes just kids involved, husband, wife, a whole family that you're lifting up. So it can be quite impactful.
I got one last question for you, and it's, what's one fun fact about yourself that nobody really knows about?
Everybody knows everything about me, I think. That's the toughest question you asked. I was gonna say photography, because I'm into photography, but most everyone knows that.
Okay.
I'm an open book. I really don't think I have a.
All right. So about photography, what was your favorite photo or moment that you've had experience as a photographer?
I just like it. I just like photography when the light is right. I don't have it here, but I took a picture at Quabbin Reservoir at sunset on the Goodenough Dam, and the light. Actually, I didn't even have a camera. I just had my cell phone with me, and I just took this picture that it was just the light. And a lot of times I get home and you take it into Photoshop and you work it, and a little bit. The light was so good, I didn't even have to work it. It was just like this perfect picture. And people tell me I'm good at taking pictures, and I said, no, I'm not a great photographer. I just take a lot of pictures. I get a lot of crappy pictures, but every once in a while you get a really good picture. And that picture, actually, I've given it as gifts to a number of people, because it's so nice. So my thing is like finding the perfect picture, the perfect light, and doesn't happen very often.
Thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. But before I end, I want to thank you guys for the support that you guys have been showing throughout the whole journey. So I do appreciate it. Ways that you guys can help out even more is by going to my website, realisticceo.com, where you guys can buy the merch in the store, which is the shirt I wear in every episode is on the store. So you guys can wear the same exact shirt as me. Another thing that you guys can do, you can also buy the book Realistic CEO. And then the last thing that you guys can do to support even more is by donating. And when you guys donate, what it does is it helps me be able to get my books in front of kids inside of schools. And I do go in and talk and read my book to the kids. And every single time I go, the smiles on their face and the thank yous, everything is just amazing journey. And honestly, it just really helps them a lot being able to get this book in front of them. So guys, thank you for watching this episode. See you the next one. Peace.